we're going to have fun at this session. I kind of wish we didn't have the desks here, because this is really meant to be a conversation, okay? A conversation where we have some outstanding leaders and experts in their domains. And it's really interesting because I'm gonna have a little fun with this. The title of her session is Institutional Perspectives in Advancing CI. And what we have here is, to my left here, two outstanding chief information officers. They're faculty also as well, but here we have the IT leadership, if you will, at institutions from our community that are going to tell you a little bit more from their perspective. I mean, they live and breathe being that person responsible for the IT infrastructure, services, support, you name it. So to my left, the camp of the CIOs, okay? And we're going to let them introduce themselves. To my right, we have two outstanding faculty, researchers, educators. So the faculty side is right here to my right. Yeah! So maybe at the end of the session, we're going to be intermingling and all that. The sitting was purely unintentional, okay? But it's interesting because both sides, to my left, to my right, have to work together, particularly if we're talking about advancing research and education through cyber infrastructure. So let's do, you can see these faces and who they are. I'm Anna Hunsinger. I am Vice President of Community Engagement at Internet2, but I'm here at this meeting as a fan and advocate of the Minority Served in Cyber Infrastructure Consortium. So what I'm going to ask my colleagues first is that they each spend just a couple of minutes telling you who they are, their roles, and anything else that they would like to share, including how they got to where we are today. Not by plane or by driving, okay? But if you could just say a little bit, so what got you to the role that you currently have? So do you have a preference where I start, to my left or right? Oh, okay, the CIOs are saying start with the faculty. Okay, so why don't we start, and you got, if you were here earlier, you got to meet her, but she's probably gonna share with us a few more things. So why don't we start with you, Karen, and then we'll go this way.
Bonjour. Karen Indigenous Special Gichikoming. My name is Karen Colbert. I'm the General Education Department Chair and Lead Math Faculty at Kiwana-Bay Ojibwe Community College.
Okay, and can you say a little bit, how did you get to where you are today?
Sure. So I came back to the reservation after about 10 years, and we noticed that we had a huge initiative. We had funding from the Department of Education for a STEM program for our youth and then for our adults. And what we were finding is that telling our students that STEM was important and inspiring them to get involved in engineering and all the fields was great, but they were not passing their math courses. And so that disconnect was challenging to explain to funders. So we had to start to get creative about, well, what are we going to do about that? And letting other people decide, well, you should try this and you should try that, it wasn't working. And I think we got frustrated with people from institutions, small institutions of 3,000, coming to the reservation and telling us what we needed to do to fix ourselves. So I decided, you know what, I think I can figure this out. And so that was the beginning of that journey, just trying to figure out how do I use those same resources, but to serve us in a way that's going to be helpful and sustainable.
Thank you. Great. All right, Dr. Grady.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Siobhan Grady, and I'm an associate professor in the School of Library and Information Sciences at North Carolina Central University. I also have the pleasure of being a founding director for our AI Institute, which is called the Institute for Artificial Intelligence and Emerging Research. How did I get here? I'm going to give you the fast version. I'll just start with when I became a faculty member at NCCU. I started a research lab. That research lab is called the Laboratory for Artificial Intelligence and Emerging Research. And to fast track things, I've been doing that for quite a few years. I've gained some really great traction, worked with some amazing students, and I've always had a newsletter and been a person to share my story, and also been one to be in the community. Once we got new leadership at our university, we have a new chancellor, new provost, pretty much all new team. They saw my newsletter. Google had been wanting to work with us. I wrote a grant to do the AI Institute on our campus, and the rest is history. Some of you were in the last session where I gave a little bit more details, but we'll cover some of that today. But that's essentially how I got right here at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to this side.
Come to the dark side, right?
Yeah, the dark side. So
Yeah, I'm Tony Moore. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Prairie A&M University. And I'll take a little different spin on how I got here. As a youth in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, hot and humid, working for my dad, who had a cement company from, 5th grade to 12th grade. Getting up at 5:30 in the morning, getting yelled at work and getting yelled at home. I decided after my freshman year at college, I need to find something else to do. So I always knew I wanted to program. I always knew I wanted to be in computer science and in just technology in general. So I found a internship at actually a veterinarian shop, just doing like data analytics and stuff like that back in the day. And so it was so funny after my freshman year, that first day after the spring term, so I'm at home and the 5 o'clock knock comes on the door, and my dad was like, "It's time to go to work." I'm like, "Dude, I got a job." Much to his chagrin, right? So, but that's sort of the how. I guess for me, I've always been thrust into having to lead, because it seems like every time someone's asked to volunteer, everybody takes a step back and I stand still, and I end up being in that role. But I think it's important because I am very passionate about our kids. So everywhere I've been focused on when mobile apps started to become prevalent in technology. I started a mobile app academy at several institutions, and continuing to build on that, more so working with faculty now and not really driving it from an IT perspective, because it's all about community. So I've got, members of the staff. We created an AI team, and we're in the midst of starting the AI Academy. How can you not be inspired by what we just saw with Dr. Robbie Melton? So that's kind of my story, why I'm here, and sort of why I do what I do.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is my thing now. Good afternoon. Okay. Now you know. Every time you see me, you got to just holler it out. So how did I get started? I am a retiree from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Engineer Research and Development Center. And I worked there for 37 years. So I was around, we were competing, saying who was around first, when she kept saying, I'm old. And I was like, I got you. I was down doing the card punch days, and she said, I was before then. So we were arguing, and I was like, we had to write in assembly language, And so I've been around all the way from the beginning of the PC, all of that stuff. I watched it. And so my children say, you're like a history book. But anyway, while I was at ERDIC, we had a lot of, and it's a research laboratory, we had a lot of contracts with different universities. And we were doing research, and we would contract out with the different universities. And I used to have a problem with the difference that was shown between the universities, right? And so Jackson State was one of the universities that would work with us. And I would get angry when they would put some students over doing this really intense, and they would give them not so intense work to do. So I would go, and I was up, had moved up in management, and I would go and ask them about it, and they're saying, well, they're not trained the same way. So when I retired on one day and went to Jackson State on the next day. shoot me in the head, right? My first thing was I wanted to make sure that that excuse went away, and that we wanted to make sure that they were getting the same training and everything that the other schools was presenting. And so when I first got to Jackson State, I was working with, looking around, but I was in enterprise. I wasn't in the research side. And I met up with Richard Alo, who is part of the MSCC board with us. And Richard was working on trying to get NSF grants, and we saw NSF grants out there. And I says, well, I want to help you, and I want to get in with the research. So we started, and that's when we started working, and we came together, and in the end, here we are with the MSCC. So I've really been interested in advancing research, computing at Jackson State, wanting to start a centralized research computing. We have a lot of research there going on, but it's kind of siloed. We have a lot of different researchers, but we want to create an environment that we have an enterprise research computing so that we can spread it out so that it's more than just a few departments, and then we can make it available across the campus.
Well, thank you all for your great introductions. And, you know, this whole thing, I got the IT side of the house here, the faculty side. And again, we're going to mix it up. So I'm going to ask Tony to move here, and Dr. Grady, can you move here? Yeah, let's, this is this is where the MSCC is the bridge. Okay, the bridge.
If it's helpful,
connecting.
I'm a former IT person.
Oh, well, there we go. Okay.
I actually used to work in ITS.
You don't have to move. But
Okay.
what I'm getting at is that this is, and I apologize to my panelists because we're not gonna stick to the script per se, okay? But, you know, the point that I wanna make is the relationship between those that have to support the IT, and I mean the IT necessary to do research, but to also do education. Our schools have to educate too, and research might be a really important thing as well. So there's, you know, the IT side of the house, and then there's the faculty, the educators, whose job is to not only educate the students, but advance the research, the education, and the opportunities as well. So these two have to work together, or we hope that they're working together. But I have no doubt that we run into challenges. So with that, let me start with the faculty, and forgive me, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but could you say a little bit more as to what's been your experience working with the IT side at your institution? Some of us might assume because of the background or the type of institution that we work with, that of course the CIO is connected and working with you and asking you, hey, you're a primary stakeholder, what do you need? What do you need from IT? But that might not be the case. That's perhaps an assumption that we cannot make all the time. So I'm just curious, do you work closely? Not? It's okay if you don't. And what are some of the things that you might share with us?
Sure, I'll start first. So a little bit more about my story. I actually started at North Carolina Central University as a staff. I worked in the Information Technology Services Division, and I worked my way up. Actually, my former CIO is here, Leah Krause, if you know her. She's my former CIO, but I used to work in ITS, and I decided I wanted to go back to school, pursue my doctorate, and so now I'm back on the faculty side of things. So I'm sort of a special person because I have a great relationship with ITS. I know who to call to contact, and when we first received the funding for the AI Institute, ITS called me, Dr. Grady, what do you need? But it's that kind of relationship you have to have built, and in addition to that, a lot of the work that I am doing, I'm choosing to partner with ITS on campus to do events because I want staff involved too. in addition to many other different units on campus. So we have a great, outstanding relationship, and it means so much to have that support.
So I'll go next. So I do want to preface a couple of things. I do represent the American Indian College Fund, and so the CEO, Cheryl Crazybull, has a statement that basically affirms that tribal colleges, we serve sovereign nations. So we're not considered a minority serving institution in the sense that the populations that we serve, we are sovereign nations. So I represent Michigan, and in Michigan, each one of the 3 tribal colleges that we have predominantly serve one tribe, but there are other tribal colleges that serve many tribes, meaning that they are from a federal perspective. So some of the challenges that we have when people want to help or when we want to partner with things like cyber infrastructure and IT, it can get challenging because if that sovereign nation does not have a relationship from like a federal stance, day-to-day operations can be kind of challenging. So what I will say is, from my perspective, for what we have in Michigan, IT is challenging. We have access to IT at a very limited basis. That means that, IT for us is like email, somebody that watches over our email, but we don't have the capabilities right now to do things like data management. So data management would be somebody calling Karen and saying, hey, we have this research project, can you figure out how to do something, but keep it on our campus, keep it in the closet, down the hall from you or from that particular person. And that makes it really challenging because when I have innovative ideas or when I hear that funders are like, oh, we have this great idea, we have all this money, there are several layers of buy-in from stakeholders, including the tribal council, not just our Board of Regents, but even our tribal council, even though we're autonomous from the tribe, because of the challenges of someone not being able to explain what can IT do and what can they protect us from. We did have like an on-site IT and that worked really well, but again, if that individual doesn't have formal training in IT, it's really limited. It's really, really limited. And so, again, when I say what our relationship has been, it has been predominantly from, administration level saying, we're really concerned, we can't really have a large integration with IT, so it would be minimal, and when we do integrate it, it's from, a very data management, it's project by project, or it's something very specific to a class. So the other questions that I answer will be, specific integrations that I've done because I have a background in data science and I can do my own, things, but as far as me being able to partner, that makes it challenging.
Thank you. And again, I wish we could mingle here. Okay. So let me turn to the IT leaders here at 2 schools. So, of course, feel free to respond to anything. Maybe share with us a little bit in your very challenging job, because you have to maintain IT operations, you have to advance the state of IT to support research and education. So how do you work with your faculty, and do any of the things that my colleagues here mentioned resonate? I mean, how, obviously you're not in the same school, right? Very different context as well. But I'd just be curious if you could say a little bit more about your engagement with the faculty and, how's it going these days? So with ladies first or
Okay.
with Tony first?
I thought we were going in order. Okay. I think we have a very good relationship with the faculty, but a lot of times it depends on what hat I'm wearing. So we will have, if I have on the research hat, or I'm here to provide for them what they need, because they'll come and say, I need this software, I need that software. And we try to be very customer oriented, and we try to get them whatever we can get if we have the funding. Now, when we put the other hat on, that enterprise, and we have to say no because, I want to hook up all of this, and no, for security reasons, no, you can't do that. No, you can't put that old computer on there. I know you have your research on there, but we got to unplug it. Then it's
Then
not
you're the
so,
bad guy.
I'm the bad guy then. Okay. But we really, but other than that, I think we have a pretty good working relationship. We talk, our whole team works together with the faculty, so I don't think we have any issues.
Okay.
Except when I put change hats.
When you
Okay.
change,
When
become
you
the villain,
change.
right?
Okay.
I can see Deb as a villain.
You do?
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I mean, I think it's the same with us. My approach is community building, right? And so a lot of needs from, faculty, we have needs, we have resource deficits. Our approach, simply when we bring in partners, when we bring in grant opportunities, we look for partnerships. Right now, we are building out our AI infrastructure and framework, and working with one of our faculty liaisons who has a DoD data analytics grant for AI. She's got 35 GAs. So obviously it helps to support our inability to hire, because we're higher ed, we're in Houston, we compete with oil and gas, we compete with Texas A&M for resources. So it's a give and take, right? So, I think if you're intentional and honest and transparent about, as Deb said, what we can and can't allow, and give them valid reasons. Now, one thing you can't do is just sit in an ivory tower, make decisions, and don't collaborate with people, because that creates a toxic relationship. So I make it a point to, attend the faculty senate, whether we got something to present or not. I got my man about the street sitting back there, Henry Rose, who walks the campus. How many steps you do a day, Henry? Probably 25,000. But he has the pulse of the campus, and it helps because we kind of have an idea of what they need before they ask. But we keep the line of communications open, and that starts monthly meetings with the provost, quarterly meetings with the deans. So we make ourselves visible, we make ourselves accessible, and we try to create the community of practice and partnerships so that the relationships always are honest and upfront, and we create a safe space, because we're not always going to agree, but if we can agree to disagree and move forward, that's in the best interest of the university.
Okay, thank you. And anything you might want to respond with, or should we move on?
No, I co-sign that. Collaboration is key. You actually can't get anything done working against one another. You really do need to just reach across the lines, ask questions when you don't know. My standpoint is different, because I used to work in ITS and I have great familiarity as being someone in a technical space, but not all faculty members have that. They don't know what to ask for. They don't know what can be done, and that's when the challenges come into play. And so it's important to have all the right people at the table, or simply just reach out to figure out who you need to talk to. Yeah. So we have to get to a place where we're unafraid to say we don't know something as well.
Okay.
I think, for us on our institution, since we're so separated and disconnected, when we learn that something is possible, that's when the innovation starts to happen. I think it's hard when we get an email saying, oh, there's funding for $500,000. What would you do with it? And, like she said, well, if I don't know what's possible, how can I know what I would want to do with it? But when you start to visit other tribal colleges and you see what kind of collaborations and infrastructures they have in place, or an entity like AHEC reaches out and says, hey, we want to do something with all of the Michigan tribal colleges. Do you want to come and be a part of that conversation? That's how we're able to build sustainable frameworks. And then, from the faculty side, not just, bringing faster internet, but what does that mean for you in your classroom? What does that mean as far as what you're going to be able to do now that you're not capable of doing because you don't have that infrastructure or those protocols in place? And I think we learned a lot just going from Genzabar to using Canvas. A lot of faculty were like, we started our nursing program, and there were just day-to-day programs that our nursing faculty were like, we can't even do what the other programs are doing at the bare minimum, because Genzabar doesn't have the capability to do this, right? So then the conversation was, okay, well, who does? Well, Canvas can do it. Okay, well, how do we do that? We had a one-time funding opportunity, but in order for the administration to buy into that, we had to say, how will we sustain that, right? So then it was like, okay, find partners, ask other people, how do you sustain that? And then, from there, like, possibilities were endless.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you touched on the question of sustainability and upholding. And, I'm going to turn now to the IT side here, because firsthand that you have to sustain the infrastructure, right? You want things to be working, right? You want some reasonable network connectivity, right? We're going to get to the AI in a minute, but okay, sure. But you might use Canvas, you might use things, and my colleagues here have to support all that, right? And uphold that and keep it going and keep it sustained. So I wonder if either one of you would want to touch a little bit on, that sustainability piece of the IT that's necessary to support not only the basic needs, but to support research. So any epiphanies as of lately, anything that you might want to share that is working for your institution and you, or not, perhaps?
Well, the hard part is how do you do it, right? But the answer is, when I talk about meeting with faculty, meeting with deans, and stressing the importance of infrastructure, expressing the importance of sustainability and how these things impact the strategic priorities and the strategic goals. So a lot of times when I am at a crossroads and I've got to get something done and it's important and it has a big impact, I don't have to advocate, right? Because I've got those faculty members, I've got those deans, we go to ag for everything because we're land grant campus, so they've got all the money. But, when you create a sense of, or you paint the picture of why certain things are important, I've been reasonably successful, not always. We've had some Hail Marys. HERF really helped us to modernize our environment. We do get a lot of, Title III resources, but it is, difficult when you try to carry that load by yourself. So when you kind of create that, our IT governance group is very important and instrumental in really relaying the technology needs back to a senior leadership team, and that helps because I don't have to really advocate for resources as hard because I've got a team of people who kind of got my back and I have theirs, and so that's kind of how I've been able to approach it, and it's been fairly successful, and I've tried to use those same methods and processes at each campus that I've worked at.
And just like he said, we've had some Hail Marys lately with the HERF funding and everything, so we were able to do some upgrades there. But over the years, since I've been there, and probably my predecessor too, we will meet with the faculty. We go to each college periodically, and we'll find out, what do you need? And then we do whatever we can to provide whatever they're asking for. So right now, we have a whole ecosystem of different products, and what we do is we will go out and one school may want this particular product, for example, SAS. And it used to be, only the math department had SAS, and they wouldn't allow anybody else to use their license. So what we do is every time we find something, we'll try to get the enterprise version so that everybody on the campus gets it, and that makes them happy, and even the students have access to it. So pretty much everything that we have, Title III and everything, so we haven't had to say no to them very much. Sometimes we do. And then we'll try to provide training for them when they're asking. Now, the only thing that we will have an issue with is a lot of them will have their own grants. And when that grant ends, they can't keep that, they can't sustain the equipment and everything that they bought with that. So that's why we're trying to work where when you do get it, we can put it in a centralized location so that when that funding runs out, we can still, it's part of our budget and we can keep it going.
Okay. All right. So I want us to move to, yes, AI, because I think we can't avoid, I mean, we just had a fantastic keynote. We've been talking, I mean, Karen, you talked about this. I will confess that my eyes just got even more open because I didn't even know about a few of these things. And it caused me to reflect that a year ago when we had our second annual meeting, we were just talking about AI. We had people from NSF that were in the process of also opening up Dear Colleague letters for the National Artificial Research Resource Pilot that NSF took the lead on. And a number of the people in the audience from NSF were there in an effort to communicate there are these great resources and we want to see more applicants from our HBCUs and our TCUs. Why aren't they applying for this? Okay, that was the context. At that point in time, through MSCC, when they were coming to me as PI and others, why aren't we seeing applications or responses to our Dear Colleague letter? Part of it was a communication problem, but also when you were not at the table in defining the resources or even provided input in how you might use those resources. Well, that's been seen as a big challenge that happened there. But we did a quick survey. I don't know how many of you might have responded. And a summer ago, that survey got about 110 respondents. And it was interesting because, again, a lot has happened since last May, okay? And there were certain things that we learned through that survey. We confirmed no one really knows about the pilot resources nor how to, people might want them, but, there are some other challenges that need to be addressed. But there was also, a lot of sentiments expressed around the ethical and policy issues relative to AI. And now here we are in the summer where we're here, and I mean, Dr. Melton, all the opportunities, and my two colleagues have integrated, AI as not only, you've had to adapt your teaching, your everything. That's why, but also AI is not new to you. It's just some tools, right, and other things, but it's not new to you. So perhaps a year ago, and forgive me, we were dealing with, our CIOs. How are we going to deal with the president that's so worried that everybody's cheating with AI, okay? That part of the house, cheating, plagiarism, and all that. And yet, contrast that with then the embracing AI as a tool for research and education. So this is where I want to go. So here we are now, May 29, 2025, okay? So is AI the integration, the kind of common bridge here? How's that going? If we were to do a survey today, I wonder what we would hear. So, we heard Dr. Melton, right? All these tools, and we were all clapping because we're like, wow, okay. So, to be specific, what keeps you up at night in your different roles as it relates to AI in both what you do, what you're trying to support, and how you go about it? So you can use any hat on this one. So anybody that wants to take the first shot at it?
Sure. So I want to say that, in the year 2025, nobody questions Google, right? I have a story of being a non-traditional learner. I took about a decade off of school in between when I started graduate school and when I came back. And when I came back in 2016, the whole world had changed. And I remember showing up into class, and it was a predictive modeling class, and the instructor said, your homework is due in R. I don't teach R. I didn't know what R was. R was a letter. And at that time, They had just added, there was Python 2, and then there was Python 3, and you're supposed to know the difference between which syntax uses semicolons and which syntax uses commas, and which one uses colons, and which one has spaces. So, I know personally I felt very lost. And I was a good student. I had an engineering degree when I came back to graduate school. So I was like, I had a brand new laptop. I had my notebook. I thought I had all the resources that I needed to be successful. And an introduction to data science in graduate school, I got a B. And in graduate school, B is like, you're barely passing. But when I would ask for help, they would say, oh, you just Google. Okay, well, I'm Googling, and I don't know what I'm looking for, right? I'm going to Google, Google, Stack Overflow were like, we were like this. Up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning watching YouTube videos of people in other countries who were teaching their content, and I'm hoping that after watching 2 or 3 or 4 hours of their lectures that I'm gonna get the information that I need to be successful. It was haphazard, it was all over the place, but I was offered Google and nobody questioned it, right? Now we have this other integration of, these AI tools, and what I will say is that these tools are trained on what's already out there. And so the problem with the gatekeeping is that when these tools reflect back to you, they're gonna show what's already there. So again, in my presentation, I told you I am a racially ambiguous woman. And anybody in this room, I would hope, can look at me and say no, I'm not. But in order for it to even train something that looks like me, it uses the data that's out there. In my class, we had students that used AI to create images of child and mother. And every single one of them was a woman from the 1800s. Some kind of airbrushed image of a woman from the 1800s with the baby, wrapped on her back. So it doesn't have enough information to actually replicate what's happening for us right now. So there's definitely a need for us to saturate those systems. Now, if that means creating training models in a closed system and sharing it within our ecosystem, be that as it may. But leaving it to somebody else to saturate, or for you to go and ask AI just like we ask Google, because that will be the default. You'll be like, well, you should be able to find some random AI tool. Well, like I had said in my presentation, in 6 months from now, there's gonna be hundreds of different AI tools that can do all kinds of things, and you're gonna be like, well, which one? Pick which one you want. Well, how do I know? You can waste lots of time just looking and cherry picking all over the place. So there will definitely be a time and a space for us to need to have a sustainable system that's gonna reflect information in a way that we need to consume it. Because Google is the default. Nobody questions that. You go to Google, you get a couple million hits. How do you know what to do? Well, most of us will just rank, okay, well, if it was in the top 20 hits on Google, that must be the best. That must be the most important. It's unlikely that you would even go to the second or third page. And the integration of AI will be no different. It will sort and it will vet the information, and then it's gonna be up to us to learn how to use that to our advantage. So one of the things that I struggle with is keeping things free and open source, and also keeping things secure.
Okay. I want to then seg to that, because then, does that mean for the CIO, your job just got a lot more complicated then?
Yeah, that is that security side, okay? We have to be concerned about. We want everybody to use the tools. We want them to use AI, but we gotta understand that just like there's the good guys out there that's using AI, the bad guys out there are using AI even more, right? So it's our job and they're using AI to even try to break in, to cause havoc, break into our network and everything. So it keeps us up. Cybersecurity keeps me up at night. It's just, you just never know that day and it used to be it was just some little guy in a garage hacking. Then it became the big states doing it. But now you have this artificial intelligence that's doing it. So that side keeps us up. We know there's a good side. We want to encourage everybody. And then the other one, when you were talking earlier, I thought about, I had a meeting with we have a new president, and we were going over our software, and I have Turnitin. And she said, I want to get rid of it, you know, because she was sick of it saying that everybody was cheating, you know. So we have to really start looking at everything and start embracing it. I guess about before COVID, when we were going to EduCalls and everything, it was AI is coming. And, you know, it was like fear. But now it's embrace AI, embrace, and every conference I go to, we hear about it's time to embrace AI. So there's going to be a good side, but then as the CIO, and everybody should be like that, is that you still have to keep your eyes open.
So we need to achieve like some balance, the yin and yang kind of. And so, dear colleagues, this is the kind of conversation that we should have had for a couple of hours at least. So since we're at time, but I want to give you, especially if you didn't get to, so let's do one more thing. You know, we got a number of people that are new to the MSCC, some of them younger than some of us. So I want to ask you one final question, because again, we can't go into all the topics, and clearly the 14 questions I sent you, we barely scratched the surface, right? But for our closing here, could each of you just share, okay, so, you know, a little bit, like if you could go and give your younger self, or someone that's just starting their career, maybe they choose to follow your career track, but if you could give yourself some advice, what would that be in today's period of time that we are? So I'll give you a couple of minutes since Tony didn't get to go. We're going to go first with Tony, then we'll go to Dr. Grady. So what advice would you give yourself?
If I was talking to myself, I should have gotten oil and gas when I got out of college. I'd be retired by now. But anyway, no, I think trust and believe in yourself. I think a lot of times we fear the unknown. And I've always been a risk taker. And I think a lot of times the more risk you take, you learn to be, you know, smart with what risks you take, but you also learn what your capacity is, right? And so in order to grow and stretch yourself and elevate yourself, you know, I was just having a conversation with Henry, is how do we empower people to get to the next level? And so I think that, you know, taking risks and being able to be unafraid is what I would advise anyone that's coming into this career space.
Thank you, Tony. Okay.
Yeah.
Grady?
I would say two things. Don't ever dim your light, period. No matter if you believe that you're not where you're supposed to be, just keep letting your light shine bright and keep going. Just keep going. A lot of times we worry about if all the things we're doing are going to lead to a certain point. Well, you won't know unless you keep going. So do that very thing. Keep going.
Thank you.
I would say get you a mentor and a coach and a sponsor and do what they say.
Huh? All right, and Dr. Dent.
I started out real shy. Could you believe that I'm shy? Yeah, and conservative. And working for the government, you could be really shy and conservative. So if I had to do it over again, I think I would have been taking more risk and being a little bit more evangelical and sharing the information with everybody.
Okay. Well, first, I'm sorry we're at time, but my colleagues are going to be here, and we just gave you a bit of a glimpse into, you know, their perspectives. But please reach out to them. They're going to be here through the conference. and we're going to wrap it up. But please join me let's thank these outstanding individuals that came together here. So thank you very much.